My name is Ethan Harper. I was 52 years old the night I realized I had never truly lived inside my own home. From the outside, everything looked stable, respectable, predictable, the kind of life men are told to be proud of. A trimmed lawn in a quiet suburb outside Raleigh, North Carolina. A two-story colonial house with white siding and black shutters. Clean driveway, solid roof, warm porch lights glowing every evening at 6. I bought that house 12 years ago, before Lauren and I were even married. It wasn't much then. Worn floors, outdated wiring, a roof that groaned during heavy rain. But it was mine. I saw potential in it the way some men see potential in broken things. I poured money into it. Time, sweat, weekends that disappeared into hardware stores and contractor estimates. When the hurricane swept through 3 years ago and tore half the shingles off the roof, I didn't wait for insurance to crawl through paperwork. I paid out of pocket and had it fixed within a week. When the inspector said the electrical system was outdated, I rewired the entire house. When Madison and Brianna moved back in after college, I renovated the upstairs bedrooms so they would never feel like temporary guests. New flooring, fresh paint, matching furniture sets, mounted TVs, private bathroom upgrades. I wanted them comfortable. I covered the mortgage every month without fail. Insurance, property taxes, medical deductibles, internet, utilities, groceries, their phone plans, streaming services they cycled through and forgot I funded, car insurance, gas cards when they were in between jobs. Lauren handled decor and family calendars. I handled everything that kept the structure standing. That division never bothered me. I've always believed a man proves himself in silence, through reliability, through presence. When the girls moved back home after college, they said it was temporary. Just until Madison's startup idea gained traction. Just until Brianna found something aligned with her passions. I nodded. I believed in second chances. I believed in soft landings. I also believed gratitude would come with time. Didn't. The first signs were small. Tone shift. Madison correcting me at dinner when I commented on her spending. Brianna rolling her eyes when I suggested she contribute something, even symbolic, toward utilities. Conversations that quieted when I entered the room. Lauren always had an explanation. They're adjusting. They're stressed. They're adults now. Adults. Adults who lived under a roof I paid for. Adults whose health insurance ran through my employer. Adults whose car repairs I approved without question. Still, I swallowed it. Because I told myself love requires patience. The tension built slowly. It wasn't explosive. It was erosion. A constant drip of dismissal. They stopped asking my opinion on anything house-related. Furniture rearranged without telling me. Weekend gatherings planned without including me in the decision. I would find out when extra cars were already in the driveway. Once, Madison laughed and said to Brianna in front of me, "Well, it's not like he makes the rules." They both looked at Lauren. Lauren smiled weakly and changed the subject. That smile was the beginning of the end. I just didn't know it yet. The dinner that changed everything wasn't dramatic at first. It was ordinary. Roast chicken, steamed green beans, wine for Lauren and me, the girls on their phones between bites. I remember feeling tired that evening, the kind of tired that sinks deeper than muscles. I had just paid for a new HVAC system 2 weeks earlier, $8,000. Because Madison complained the upstairs temperature fluctuated too much. I never mentioned the cost. We sat around the table I had refinished myself. Sanded by hand. Stained twice to get the color right. Madison started the conversation casually. "Mom," she said, not looking at me. "We've been talking about something." Brianna's lips curved slightly. She angled her phone on the table, screen facing up. I saw the red recording icon. That was my first clue. Madison continued, voice light but sharp underneath. "Just so we're clear, we answer to you, not him." Brianna added, eyes lifting slowly to mine. "Yeah, you don't make decisions here." They were filming me, waiting for anger, waiting for a reaction, waiting for something explosive they could share. I felt Lauren freeze beside me. I waited for her to speak, for a simple correction. Don't disrespect him. That's not how we talk. Ethan provides for this house. Anything. But Lauren said nothing. Her silence filled the room louder than their words. In that moment, something shifted inside me. Not rage. Not humiliation. Clarity. I understood then that I had mistaken tolerance for respect. That I had confused financial provision with authority. That for years, I had been nothing more than infrastructure. A utility. Water. Electricity. Background support. Replaceable. I smiled. Understood, I said calmly. Their expressions faltered. They wanted confrontation. Instead, I reached for my phone beneath the tablecloth and sent a notification I had prepared weeks earlier, though I hadn't admitted to myself I would ever use it. One tap. That was all it took. Because while they were recording my face, I was activating something far more permanent. Lauren glanced at me, confused by my tone. She sensed something had changed but couldn't yet name it. Dinner continued awkwardly. Madison whispered something to Brianna and they both suppressed laughter, clearly disappointed by my lack of visible reaction. They thought they had won something. They didn't understand the difference between noise and control. I finished my meal slowly, every bite deliberate, every movement measured. Inside, I replayed the silence. Lauren's silence. That was the real sentence passed against me. After dinner, I walked upstairs without confrontation, without raised voices, without threats. And in the quiet of my office, I confirmed what that single notification had begun. The truth. And once you see the truth clearly, you can never unsee it. That night, the house felt different. Not because of what they said, but because of what I finally understood. I had built a structure, but I had never built loyalty. And loyalty cannot be purchased, can only be respected. I went to bed beside my wife knowing something irreversible had already begun. The shift wasn't coming. It had already happened. I didn't sleep that night. Lauren lay beside me, her breathing slow and even, as if nothing had happened. As if two grown women hadn't just reduced me to a guest in the house I built. I stared at the ceiling fan turning above us and replayed every second of that dinner. The smirk, the camera light, the silence. It wasn't the words that hollowed me out. I've heard worse in business meetings. I've had competitors try to humiliate me in front of entire boards. Words are noise. Silence is endorsement. Lauren had said nothing, not because she didn't know what to say, but because correcting them would have meant choosing a side. And she didn't choose me. Around 2 a.m, I slipped out of bed and walked to my office. The house was dark, quiet, peaceful on the surface. It almost mocked me. I opened my laptop. The notification I sent during dinner had triggered the first lock. A temporary freeze on all authorized user credit cards linked to my primary accounts. Madison's card, Brianna's card, the shared household backup card Lauren used for groceries. Pending review. I logged into the bank portal and separated the joint account. Not maliciously, not dramatically, cleanly. Funds allocated proportionally. My salary redirected to a new primary account under my name only. Click, confirm, authenticate. Each action required two-factor verification. Each code felt ceremonial, deliberate, final. I wasn't acting out of anger. Anger is loud, impulsive. This was something else. Correction. For years, I had allowed the structure to blur. Shared accounts, open access, informal agreements. Felt generous at the time. Felt trusting. But generosity without respect becomes exploitation. After the banking changes, I opened my email and drafted a short message to a real estate broker I had consulted with once before, casually months ago. I'd like to discuss listing options for my property. Simple. Professional. No emotion. The house was legally mine alone. Purchased before marriage. Renovated entirely with my funds. That fact had always been a technicality in the background. Now it was leverage. Before closing the laptop, I made one more adjustment. Madison had announced her startup idea the week before, some boutique consulting platform that required bridge funding. I had verbally agreed to provide initial capital. I revoked it. Funding paused. No transfer scheduled. Then I sat back in my chair and listened to the hum of the HVAC system I had installed. For the first time in years, I felt something unfamiliar. Control. Morning came quietly. Madison was the first to notice. Her voice carried down the hallway, sharp and irritated. "Mom, my card isn't working." Brianna followed seconds later. "Yeah, mine too," says declined. Lauren knocked on my office door mid-coffee. "Ethan? Did something happen with the bank?" I looked up at her calmly. "I'm reviewing accounts." Her forehead creased. "Why?" I held her gaze. "Because I make decisions here." The words hung between us. She flinched, just slightly. By 9:30, the notifications began. Automated alerts confirming frozen access, separated balances, updated account permissions. My phone buzzed steadily. Downstairs, the mood shifted from confusion to agitation. Madison's voice rose. "This is ridiculous. I have subscriptions tied to that card." Brianna snapped. "I was supposed to order inventory today." Inventory. For a venture I was financing. Lauren approached me again, this time less tentative. "What's going on?" she demanded quietly. I closed my laptop. "Last night clarified roles." She stared at me. "What does that mean?" "It means I misunderstood my position in this house." Her jaw tightened. "Ethan, don't be dramatic." Dramatic. That word almost made me laugh. "I'm not being dramatic," I said evenly. "I'm being accurate." The doorbell rang at 11. The real estate broker. Madison happened to be standing in the foyer when I opened the door. "Good morning." The agent smiled, professional and unaware of the storm brewing inside. Madison blinked. "Why is there a realtor here?" I answered without hesitation. "Preliminary walkthrough." Her face drained of color. "Walkthrough for what?" "For a listing." Silence fell again, but this time it wasn't protective. It was shocked. Lauren stepped into the hallway. "Ethan, what are you doing?" I turned to all three of them. "I'm adjusting a system where I apparently don't exist." The agent cleared his throat politely. "Perhaps I should." "No," I said calmly. "Please continue." He began measuring rooms, taking notes. Professional. Detached. Madison's composure cracked first. "You can't just sell the house." I looked at her. "It's mine." Brianna scoffed, but there was fear in it now. "This is our home." "No," I replied quietly. "It's a property I provide." Lauren stepped closer, her voice lowering. "You're overreacting." I met her eyes, steady and unblinking. "No, I'm responding." By afternoon, payments began declining across multiple platforms. Subscription services, automatic draft plans, even Brianna's phone upgrade installment. The shift was immediate. Panic has a different sound than arrogance. It's thinner, sharper. Madison cornered me in the kitchen. "Fix this." I wiped the counter slowly. "Fix what?" "You know what." I held her gaze. "I haven't broken anything." Her voice rose. "You're destroying everything over a stupid dinner comment?" I leaned slightly closer. "No, I'm correcting years of misinterpretation." Lauren tried one last appeal that evening. "Don't tear apart the family." I answered her calmly. "I'm not tearing anything apart. I'm stepping out of a role you all said I never had." The house felt different that night. Heavier, charged. And beneath the tension, I sensed something new rising. Dependence exposed. They had believed I would always absorb the cost, always stabilize the impact, always smile through disrespect. They were wrong, because once control shifts, it rarely shifts back. And that dinner, when they raised their phones and I said, "Understood," was never about humiliation. It was about revelation. They thought they were recording my reaction. What they captured instead was the exact moment I stopped carrying them. And I have to ask myself now, even as everything begins to fracture, was I supposed to keep smiling? Or was this the first honest decision I've made in years? By morning, the house no longer felt like a home. It felt like a system in failure. Madison was up before sunrise. I could hear her pacing upstairs, floorboards creaking in uneven rhythms. Brianna's door opened and closed 3 times before 7. Drawers slammed. Closet doors banged. The sharp staccato of panic had replaced the lazy comfort they once moved with. At 7:12 a.m., Madison's voice cut through the hallway. My payment didn't go through. 7:14. They froze the account completely. 7:16. Mom, do something. I sat at the kitchen table with my coffee, reading emails as if nothing were happening. Because technically, nothing was happening. I hadn't attacked anyone. I hadn't raised my voice. I hadn't insulted or threatened. I had simply removed myself. Lauren came downstairs in her robe, eyes swollen from a night of restless sleep. Ethan, she said carefully. The mortgage autodraft notification changed. Yes, I answered. Her hands trembled slightly as she gripped the chair across from me. It says the account structure has been modified. It has. She sat down slowly. Why are you doing this? I met her eyes without hostility. Because last night clarified that I don't make decisions here. Her lips parted, but the argument died before forming. Upstairs, Madison let out a frustrated scream. Brianna followed with something quieter, sharper. The sound of someone realizing comfort isn't permanent. At 8:30 a.m., the first external consequence hit. Madison's startup vendor emailed her about a declined initial capital transfer. She stormed into the kitchen, phone shaking in her hand. They're saying the funds aren't available. They aren't, I replied calmly. You promised. I reconsidered. Her face flushed deep red. You can't just back out because your ego's hurt. I stood slowly, not aggressive, not loud. This has nothing to do with ego. Then what is it about? It's about role definition. She stared at me, breathing hard. You're unbelievable. Maybe, I said quietly, but I'm consistent. Brianna entered seconds later, eyes wide. My credit score app says there's unusual activity. What did you do? I separated accounts. You had no right. I paused. No right? The words echoed almost perfectly from dinner. Lauren stepped between us, hands raised. Everyone just calm down. Madison rounded on her. Fix this. Lauren looked at me, and for the first time I didn't see authority in her gaze. I saw fear. By 10 o'clock the doorbell rang. The real estate broker returned for photographs. This time the girls were waiting in the foyer when I opened the door. You're not serious, Brianna said, voice trembling. I am. Madison stepped closer, lowering her voice. You'd uproot us just to prove a point? I held her stare. I'm not uprooting anyone. I'm liquidating an asset. Lauren inhaled sharply. Ethan. The broker began photographing the living room, the room I had renovated myself. The hardwood floors I installed plank by plank. The fireplace mantel I refinished. Click, flash, documentation. The girls watched in disbelief as their background stability was converted into square footage and listing value. By noon, their phones began hitting spending limits. Subscription services locked. Food delivery apps declined. Even their gas cards stopped processing. Panic changed shape then. It wasn't loud anymore. It was tight. Lauren approached me in the hallway while the agent finished upstairs. You're scaring them, I answered evenly. They weren't afraid when they erased me. They didn't mean it. They filmed it. That detail finally hit her. Her eyes shifted slightly. They were joking. I shook my head once. People don't record jokes unless they expect humiliation. She had no reply. At 3 in the afternoon, Madison's voice cracked for the first time. What are we supposed to do? It wasn't accusatory. It was genuine. I looked at her. Adjust. To what? To reality. Brianna's composure broke next. You're punishing us. No, I said calmly. I'm withdrawing from a system where I don't exist. Lauren tried once more, voice barely above a whisper. Please don't destroy this family. I looked at her carefully. I didn't destroy it. Silence stretched between us. I stopped financing it. The weight of that distinction settled slowly. By evening, the house felt unfamiliar. Not because walls had moved, but because power had. For years, they had operated with invisible assurance. Bills would be paid. Systems would function. Problems would be absorbed. Now uncertainty lived in the air. Madison sat at the kitchen counter, staring at her phone, scrolling through numbers that no longer bent to her will. Brianna avoided eye contact entirely. Lauren stood at the sink longer than necessary, hands submerged in water long after the dishes were clean. The control had flipped. And when control disappears, dependency becomes visible. That night, no one recorded me. No one smirked. No one said I had no rights, because they were beginning to understand something fundamental. Authority and responsibility are tied together. If you strip one away, the other doesn't stay. As I walked upstairs to bed, I passed the staircase railing I had sanded and stained years ago. I ran my hand along the wood grain slowly. I built this structure, but I allowed them to believe I was temporary inside it. That was my mistake, not theirs. And now, as the real estate listing draft sat in my inbox awaiting approval, as the accounts remained frozen, as their comfort fractured quietly around them, I asked myself something I had avoided for years. Was I too late in reclaiming control? Or was this the first time I had actually exercised it? The first showing was scheduled 48 hours after the listing went live. 48 hours. That's how long it took for strangers to begin walking through the life I had built. By then, the house had settled into a strained quiet. No more shouting. No more demands to fix it. Panic had burned through the girls quickly and left behind something heavier. Disbelief. They never thought I would follow through. Lauren stood in the kitchen the morning of the showing, staring at the granite countertops like they were already gone. "Do you have to let people in?" she asked softly. "Yes." Her voice trembled. "Can't we talk first?" "We've been talking for years," I replied evenly. Nothing changed. Madison came downstairs dressed impeccably, makeup precise, posture rigid. Brianna hovered behind her, arms crossed tight against her chest. "This is insane," Madison said. Not loud, not mocking, just shaken. "It's practical," I corrected. "For who?" Brianna shot back. "For me." The word hung there like something foreign. For me. I had not used that phrase in years. The realtor arrived with a young couple around 10:30. They smiled politely as they stepped inside, complimented the crown molding, asked about the upgraded wiring, noted the roof replacement. I answered every question calmly, objectively, as if I were discussing a property I no longer emotionally occupied. Madison watched from the hallway, stunned. Brianna disappeared upstairs entirely. Lauren stood frozen near the dining table, the same table where this all began. When the buyers left, the realtor lingered. "Strong interest," he said. "You priced it right." "I know," I answered. He glanced subtly at Lauren, then back at me. "We may have an offer quickly." "That's fine." After he left, silence filled the house again. Madison spoke first. "You're really doing this?" "Yes." Brianna's voice cracked from the top of the stairs. "Where are we supposed to go?" I looked up at her calmly. "You're adults." Lauren turned to me then, eyes shining with restrained tears. "You're tearing us apart." I met her gaze without flinching. "No," I said quietly. "I'm removing myself." That distinction seemed to confuse her. Later that afternoon, the first offer came in. Full asking price. No contingencies. Quick close. I accepted within the hour. When I walked into the living room to tell them, I saw something I hadn't seen before. Fear. Not anger. Not arrogance. Fear. "It's sold," I said simply. Lauren sank into a chair. Madison stared at me like I had become someone unrecognizable. Brianna whispered, "You can't." But I already had. The next week unfolded with brutal efficiency. I secured a small property outside Flagstaff, Arizona. Quiet, modest, paid in cash from accumulated savings and equity. I changed my primary phone number, redirected mail, closed every shared digital account. No arguments, no court battles, no screaming matches, just paperwork. Lauren tried once more, 3 nights before closing. We sat across from each other in the empty living room. The girls were out, trying to salvage dignity among friends who suddenly understood their financial security was conditional. "I didn't realize it was this bad," she said softly. "It wasn't sudden," I answered. "I should have corrected them." "Yes." Her eyes filled. "I thought you'd always stay." That sentence told me everything. She believed my endurance was permanent, that no matter the disrespect, no matter the erosion, I would continue carrying the weight. "I stayed long enough," I said calmly. "Are you punishing us?" I thought about that carefully. "No," I replied. "I'm stopping the automatic payments, stopping the silent tolerance, stopping the role of invisible provider." The house closed 2 weeks later. I watched strangers sign documents that transferred ownership. I felt nothing dramatic. No rage, no triumph, just clarity. Madison didn't attend closing. Brianna refused to speak to me. Lauren stood beside me but slightly apart. When it was done, I handed over the keys without hesitation. The final evening inside the house was quiet. Rooms echoed differently once furniture was gone. Sound traveled farther. I walked through each space slowly. The bedrooms I renovated. The kitchen I upgraded. The roof I paid to replace. All of it now just structure. I paused at the dining table, still standing there because the buyers wanted it included. That table had held birthdays, arguments, laughter, and the sentence that ended everything. "You don't make decisions here." I ran my hand across its surface one last time. Then I left. Arizona was dry, open, quiet in a way North Carolina never felt. My new place near Flagstaff was small, simple, efficient. No excess space to fill with expectation. I unpacked only what I needed, changed the locks, disconnected from the past entirely. No forwarding address shared beyond legal necessity. Weeks passed, then months. Lauren wrote once. She admitted she allowed her daughters to treat me like an outsider. Admitted she never believed I would actually leave. Admitted she mistook patience for weakness. She asked if we could talk. I didn't respond. Not out of cruelty. Out of completion. The realization came to them late. But realization doesn't reverse consequence. Family without respect isn't family. It's dependence. And dependence without accountability becomes exploitation. That dinner, when the phones were raised and I smiled, was not surrender. It was the moment control shifted permanently. I didn't scream. I didn't threaten. I didn't fight. I simply stepped out of the equation. And when I did, everything they relied on collapsed under its own weight. Now, sitting on a quiet porch in Arizona, watching the sun set over red rock instead of manicured lawns, I ask myself one final question. Was I wrong to remove myself from a family that had already erased me? Or would you have endured it longer?